welcome to Tabletop Gaming Arena. My name is Reno, and you are watching Know Your Enemy. So, we are looking at the Haruspex today. The Haruspex has an 8-inch movement. It's toughness 11. It saves on a 3-up. It also has 14 wounds. It has a leadership of 8+, and it has an objective secure of 4. Now, this beast is incredible. When it gets into combat, it gets really scary. It has a grasping tongue for a shooting weapon. It only shoots 12 inches. It has a 3-up to hit. It's 1 shot, strength 6, -2, armor piercing, and D6 + 1 in wounds, damage. So it can really reach out and smack someone. It also has precision, so it's great for grabbing those low wound heroes out of units and crushing them like bugs. Once it gets up to combat is when it gets really lethal. It has a ravenous maw, all these little tendrils. Each one of these little things gets an attack. It's 14 attacks. 3-up to hit, strength 7, armor piercing of -1, and 2 damage a pop. So, great for taking out little infantry. And, with the strength 7, you're starting to get into being able to wound Terminators and Gravis on, 3-ups instead of 4-ups. Also, it has a shoveling claws. This is extra attacks. These are these big pincer things on him. This is what makes this model really scary. Okay, he's got 4 attacks with those. They are extra attacks, so they're just on top of everything else. You got 3-up to wound or to hit. Strength 14 claws. These can rip into tanks and tear them in half, no problem. -2 armor piercing. So, gonna be hard, gonna push those tank saves up to 4s. D6 + 1 wound per attack. So, if you get 4 successful attacks, 4 successful wounds, you're gonna tear a tank in half. Okay, pretty good. Because of that, it is often targeted. Okay, when you play the Haruspex, if you just run him alone and you make him go out on his own, he's going to get mowed down and killed. When I had him for a long time. I've been running him, and I run him singly for a long time. I couldn't get I was working on other parts of my armies in order to prep him out. What he works best with is if you surround him with terror. What I like to do with this guy is I put a 20-pack of Hormagaunts around him. Okay? Usually right next to him. They are faster. They are going to get to the enemy fast. They can advance and charge. So bam, they're going to get to the enemy, wrap them up so that he can make it across the board. When I do that, he gets across the board. They have to split fire. They have to deal with the Hormagaunts. They can't take all their fire and deal with him. So he can make it across the board and get into the fray. Now, each time this model is selected to fight after resolving its attacks, if any units were destroyed by the attacks, any enemy within 6 inches of this model has to take a battle shock test. Okay? Now, that's not really the strength of this weapon. The strength of this weapon is in its resiliency, its wounds, and that 14 strength claw. Okay? That's what you want to be doing with this. You can aim him at anything. You can run him in any of the loadouts for the Tyranid detachments, although he does work best in the Crusher Stampede for obvious reasons. He's a big monster. And he works best in the Assimilation Swarm detachment because he is a harvester beast. So when you run those Hormagaunts near him and you rush out and use that to secure an objective, he's going to be able to replenish some of those Hormagaunts. When you do that, run the Hormagaunts in packs of 10 because he doesn't get to reharvest unless models are killed. And so if you have two smaller units, you could sit and reinforce them. Also, a 20 pack would work good on that as well. Another thing I like to run with this guy are two Screamer Killers, one right on the other, one right on this side, and then I put the Psychophage right behind. The Psychophage gives everybody that feel no pain, 6 up, but it also creates 3 horrible threats that you don't want any one of those 3 going at you. It works good that way because when you do the 3 like that, you're able to maneuver through terrain and still get in and make your punches. And when you surround them with a couple of other horrible things, like 3 of these would be a nightmare. 3 of these coming at the enemy, you know 2 of them are going to make it. Okay, and then they're just going to trash whatever the enemy, whatever it hits in the enemy. Once this thing gets into combat, it lays waste. Okay, I have used it to help destroy an entire pack, 20 packs of Necron warriors. Okay, I've used him to destroy tanks. I've used him to destroy a bunch of Gene Stealer cults. He is great at destroying anything. He can destroy small things. He can destroy big things. This is a very important model, I believe, to have in any of your Tyranid swarms. You advance him, advance him, advance him until he gets close enough to do a move charge. Okay? So you're going to advance him the first turn. Surround him with support. He will not work well on his own. Okay? He will get shot to death. You have to present multiple threats to the enemy. That is how you get the enemy to split fire. Once the enemy splits fire in this game, they are going to have a difficult time because when you split fire, you cannot entirely kill most units these days. You have to focus fire in order to eliminate units. So, surrounding him with the Hormagaunts is going to help that too. This is the Haruspex. He is 125 points. That is an incredibly small amount of points for what this thing can do once it gets in there. Another good option to do with this beastie is I put him and the Hormagaunts in strategic reserves. I wait until turn 3 to bring them in. Usually if I'm running Crusher Stampede, that will give me plenty of time to bring him in. The rest of the big heavy monsters out there are going to be able to handle the field until he can come in the back door on turn 3. You bring him in the back door and it's over for the enemy. Okay? Hell, I would even take on some of the bigger guys with this guy singly because he is that devastating. Really great at killing infantry. Not too bad at tearing tanks in half. The Haruspex from the Tyranids faction. Play him in any detachment. Take support with him. Rush him and the support across the board at your worst threat. Because then that worst threat will focus fire or split fire. And you'll be able to at least eat up the shots that you need to get the rest of your army in. Or if they panic and they split fire, he will get in and destroy their line. Okay, he'll definitely create a hole wherever he goes. Thank you for watching. That is Know Your Enemy, Haruspex edition.